Hello, I am your host, Michelle Calloway, and today we are on Tech with Heart talking about how to write compelling marketing copy. Tech with Heart is all about empowering entrepreneurs to embrace technology, different systems, strategies, and whatnot. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Chelsea Baldwin, and she is a disruptor. She goes about doing things differently because literally you have to be able to stop people in their tracks on their scroll with your copy, your text. What are you saying? Is it grabbing people's attention? That's what we're going to talk about today with Chelsea Baldwin. So welcome to the Tech with Heart stage, Chelsea.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm excited about our topic today. So let's dive right on in. You know, small business owners struggle with, how to get their message out there, obviously how to stand out in a sea of digital noise and competitors. So what are you seeing that small business owners are doing a lot of that is wrong? Can we start there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I see this over and over again. It's not just small businesses, a lot of big businesses do it as well, but they're just using the same industry niche jargon over and over again on repeat, like wash, rinse, repeat, over and over again across everyone's website. And it all sounds the same. And because so many people are using the same terms, they just get watered down. They don't really mean anything anymore. Even if they are words that mean good things, they're either really high level or they're just so overused that they have no impact on your target audience. So, people's eyes just kind of glaze over those words. They don't pay that much attention to them, if any attention to them. And then you don't get the attention that you deserve online for your business.
So, okay, yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, we get locked into this jargon, right? We get locked in, and that's so important to when you're creating content. You have to find that unique edge. There's such a thing as a hook, right? When you go fishing, first and foremost, you need to be putting your message out there in the water that your fish are hanging out in, right? I mean, it's kind of like fishing. So let's talk about that. What is some of the things that you can guide us to embrace when it comes to thinking about how to use copy? Do you have a couple of tips that you can give us that would help us to determine how to step out of that boring mold and start stepping into something a little bit more creative and catchy and jolting, maybe a little bit?
Yeah. So I have two really fundamental tips that I like to share to people who are totally new to it and just want to make an impact on their copy pretty quickly. When we're writing copy, when most people write copy, they think, I need to tell people about my business. I need to tell people about this, about that. I need to educate them. And yes, you do. But when you do that, when you come from, I need to tell people about this, I need to educate them about that sort of stuff, it immediately almost always goes to like boring school report sounding kind of copy, which doesn't exactly do much to get people excited. But then when you can compliment yourself, and I have my own way to describe this, like kissing your own rear end, you just say really great things about yourself, or like what you think, what would my clients say that are really great things about me? When you're in the shoes of your most ideal client and they're just thrilled with what it is that you sell or the service that you offer, what are the things they're thinking and what are the things that they're saying to people about you or about your products or about your service? And you write those down, and you don't necessarily take those thoughts and write them verbatim as your hook, as those like attention grabbing statements, but that like you can take those and you can, like, let's say you brainstorm out a list, you can brainstorm out that list, and then you can usually find really great pieces that you can add, maybe edit up a little bit and add it on your website or paste it over some other text that's not quite as exciting, and it really, really makes a huge difference because you're relating to that emotion that people have after they buy and you want them to feel that. You don't want them all cerebral. Like, people need to feel emotions when they make decisions. Otherwise they don't make decisions. And that's just like the human quirk that we all have to deal with.
Okay, great. Perfect. This is awesome. So are you able to like give us a one sentence example between the old and the new Zazzle version of like an opening sentence? Can you just kind of wing it for us?
Yeah. So, I mean, so my world is in copywriting, and let's say it's a freelance copywriter. You might say what are the typical things people say about a freelance copywriter? Like high converting copy, or copy that stands out, which ironically would be a sentence that does not stand out because everyone and their brother who is a copywriter says that. Or just things like that. But when you start bragging about yourself or saying great things that you've done, like, I double copy or double conversion rates for my clients, I get more attention on social media than any of the other copywriters out there, I 3x my client sales after they implement my copywriting in their email funnels. So you can take stuff like that, like those brag-worthy statements, and turn them into things that are much better hooks. Like, you're still inherently saying the same thing, like copy that stands out, copy that gets results, blah, blah, blah. But you're being more concrete about it. You're being more emotional about it. And therefore you're getting better results. And it's kind of hard to speak it because it's something that's written out, but that, I think that gives a pretty good example.
No, it does. And I appreciate you doing that on the fly. I just got to put you on the spot and you showed up, and I appreciate that. So realistically, I know that the more specific you can be in your brags too, it really helps you uniquely set yourself apart from your competitors. And I love this. So you're talking about copy. We copy. We have website copy. We have email copy. We have social media copy, blog copy. So there's a lot of different places where you need to be unique. So here's the thing. When you're thinking about how you want to show up with your copy and how you want to hook people, realize that the hook isn't the end all. It's just the stop. You're getting somebody to stop. And then so what comes after the hook is just as important as the hook. You don't want to hook them real quick and then, like when you're fishing, they wiggle and then they get free. You don't want them to get free. You want them to go, oh, and then they're going to read on and they're going to go, oh, I'm here. I need to be here. This is what I'm looking for. This is, I'm here, I'm home. That's what you want them to do. You want them to say, oh, yes, and dive all on into your content, right, Chelsea?
Yeah, for sure. And that's where sort of the second tip that I give comes in. But yeah, the first hook is very important, but you don't want to go into like a snooze fest right after that, because then you'll have gotten attention and people are still going to forget about you, even though you did get their attention at the start. But yeah, it is very important to kind of keep it up, to keep it interesting. And
so any tips on the second part then, as far as how, again, I mean, in first you mentioned kissing your own butt, bragging a little bit. So right. That's an idea, and that's just one way to stand out. There are other ways to stand out on that hook. But then what are some of your tips when it comes to the second section, which is kind of like the sub headline, perhaps?
Yeah, so the best thing you can do there is to just kind of look through your own website or look through websites or marketing copy of people in your niche and just pick out what those jargon phrases are. Like, what are the things that get used over and over and over and over and over and over and over again? Like high quality, sustainable, authentic. Like, those are three great things, but they're so overused that they mean nothing to us now. Basically mean nothing to us, and they have different meanings depending on the industry you're in or the product you sell or whatever. So you would pick out like a handful of those things that are just very jargony. Let's say you're writing a homepage. And so something that's important to your home page and your brand is how sustainable your company is. So what does sustainable actually mean? So you can use the word sustainable. There's nothing inherently wrong with the word sustainable, but you don't want it to end there. So the way I do it, the way I teach my clients to do it, who learn from me how to do better copywriting, is to take this phrase sustainable, like sustainable fabrics or sustainable furniture, or sustainable whatever it is that you sell. And then, okay, well, how does this actually play out in the day-to-day of business or in the day-to-day of life? And then you get really granular there. And one thing when you're doing this is you're not thinking, oh, I've got to write something for my homepage copy. What does sustainable mean? That's not what you're doing. You're just kind of brainstorming out, what does this mean in the day-to-day? So you can come up with sentences and paragraphs of stuff. And then when you you can do a few different brainstorms in the same jargon phrase. And then when you come back to your homepage, in conjunction with like the hook that you chose earlier, you'll usually find something from this brainstorm that fits really well underneath it. And all of a sudden, instead of just having this really boring homepage that's nothing special in comparison to everything else in your niche, it now is just so interesting to people, to your target audience, because you're capturing their emotions, you're speaking about details that matter to them and not just vague concepts. And so that's a really good way to start. And really, you can do that on repeat for every page or product descriptions or whatever. But that's the basic approach.
Oh, that's really good, because from what I'm talking about systems wise on how you come up with the wording and everything too, you don't want to actually be on your website builder figuring out your copy there. You want to do all of this brainstorming offline a little bit into a Word doc or whatever you prefer, Google Doc, sheet, whatever. You want to be able to create your flow. You want a hook, and then you want the hook, line, and sinker line section underneath there, because then that's going to get them to want to go deep further on. So it's definitely good to write it out. And if you happen to have, this is what I love to do, I love to like send it out to some people for input, because it's a lot of work to then go later and make a bunch of edits once it's on your website. It's so much better to make all your edits before you put it actually out there to the world. So that's what I recommend doing. And I think that it's also important for us to acknowledge that there are people tend to fall into 4 quadrants of personalities and value systems and whatnot. So you kind of need to understand a little bit about how you need to implement different information throughout that's going to talk to each of those different personalities and value systems. So like some need, just the big win perspective. Others need a little bit more statistics and background. Others need to feel that this is going to make a difference. It's about feel. And then this one over here, they just need to see that this is proven, this is logical, that there's credibility here. So you need to have all of that in your copy if you really want to convert, because then you're literally speaking everybody's language. Do you teach any of that kind of stuff in your courses as well?
Yeah. And when you do the kind of stuff like I'm talking about, you kind of just naturally hit on all 4 of those points, because, a page of copy is more than just a few sentences usually. So when you're going through that process, you just naturally hit on those 4 points. And then if you go back and realize, oh, I've actually not included any of my product specs, like it's pretty easy to just go in and put those in there.
Being able to do business online is crucial for survival, especially during times of social distancing. So how do you survive and thrive in the sea of digital noise? It's a lot like fishing. You need to know who your perfect customer is so that you can use the right kind of lure to attract them. We help you catch your perfect customer and retain them for future sales through highly converting websites, influencer mobile apps, getting you featured in the news and on TV. Hi, my name is Chelsea Baldwin, U.S. Army veteran and president of Revealio Software Solutions. Our goal is to help you rise above the competition, be seen as an expert authority in your industry, and embrace technology to stay competitive for long-term success. It's more affordable than you may think. So reach out to us at revealio.com, and together we will make your business come alive.
For sure.
And also, when it comes to your niche, the jargon, going back to the jargon, Chelsea, can you speak to us a little bit more about how important it is when you're an expert in your area? Does it mean that everybody that you're trying to attract is an expert in your area? So how to simplify and not use big words?
Yeah. So jargon, that's a really good point, because a lot of times people use jargon not because they're not an expert or not because they don't know how to talk to their target audience, but because it's like they're working in their business day to day to day to day, like all day long. And so to them, they think immediately of these jargon phrase concepts that they may not realize are quite so jargony, or that are as jargony as they actually are in the real world for people who don't do what they do day in and day out. So yeah, it's important to take some time to identify what those things are and then to sort of tease them out, like I mentioned with those brainstorms. But another thing you can do, like you mentioned, sending stuff to friends or people that you know, you can just ask, not so much for their feedback, but just because, you know, sometimes people like to give free advice that has nothing to do with what you're doing and it's just totally irrelevant. You can say, all I want to know from you is to highlight where you start to get bored, right? So that is an incredible piece of information to have, because once you know where people start getting bored is where you can inject like one of those butt kissing statements, or where you can maybe realize, oh, this is actually pretty jargony. I should probably get a little more detailed. And there's always a fix. There's always something pretty simple you can do to fix it, but a lot of times you just need those fresh set of eyes on what you're doing.
Are you able to speak to us a little bit about the difference between using influence in your wording versus marketing salesy? A lot of people are just being put off right now. We get hit with so much every single day as far as advertising, sales, pushes. I mean, people are calling my phone now, acting all calm, like we've had a previous conversation, when I know for a fact we've never, ever spoken before. And so people are getting a little bit more clever, trying to be convincing. But can you speak to us about like how to shift the way that you're writing to be more of influence versus, oh, buy now, you have to have this now. You have to have this now because it's going to be gone. As soon as you click away, it's going to be gone.
Yeah, I think the influence actually comes through the authenticity, because humans have a really good like BS filter. Like, you know, the people who you say you have calling you, the kind of marketing messages or the slimy sales messages we all see that like annoy the crap out of us. We all have a really good filter for that. And that kind of stuff is what we don't pay attention to. We ignore it. It annoys us. We're definitely not doing business with that company. And so that's obviously not what you want to do in your sales copy, right? But obviously you need to sell because you have a business. But yeah, that the influence comes from the authenticity. And the authenticity comes from really being able to break down what happens in your business, how you go about what you do, why you do what you do, coming from like a human to human place, which is why I often tell people, like, talk about what you like, your brags, and then talk about the day-to-day details, because that is where the authenticity comes in, not in the jargon phrases. So once you kind of do that and get practiced at that, it's almost like you don't even have to worry about being over salesy or worry about coming across as desperate. And anytime you do find yourself tempted to like act now or do that all kind of desperate, clingy sounding stuff, you can catch yourself, because that turns people off. And what actually turns people on and makes them want to buy even more is to relate to the authenticity that comes through when you talk about the realness of the details of your business, or the realness of what you actually accomplish, right?
Absolutely. And because most of the people, when it comes to services, they're going to be buying you, the leader of your company. They want to know you. They want to feel like they know you. And so one of the great things to do, as well as write the copy out so they can read it, is to also do a short video so that you're speaking to what is actually being able to be read on the page, but you're speaking it. And so for those who are visual learners, they're going to really like that, because you're basically introducing yourself to them, and they can sense that your authenticity through your tone and your body language, as well as the words that you're saying are in alliance with what you've written. And so that's another really smart way to hook people, is to get them to pretty quickly click on that video. And that video should be short, definitely short. It should be less than like 2 minutes. But just give them an opportunity to get to know you and hear from you. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, videos can work. If you feel really awkward on camera, you might not want to do a video yet. But you can like work on your confidence. But yeah, any way that you can increase comprehension and increase memorability, so that can be through text and video or text and image, or audio in some way, like that will help like your message just kind of sink in. So yeah.
No, audio, that's a really cool one too, is because with people, if you don't feel comfortable on camera, I agree, you don't want to put yourself on camera because that could just be awkward. You definitely should be working towards getting over that though. That's my big push.
Right.
And you want to show up and you want to learn how to do that. And I have people that can help you with that, FYI, because I'm a big component in tapping into the people's learning modalities, and video is king. So speaking beyond that though, if you can at least put out an audio track, letting people hear from you, that also makes them realize, oh yeah, it's relatable. It's just relatable. You hear a tone of voice and you're just like, there's just something about it. It's nice to connect. In an online world, it's nice to connect with another human being. And that's what Tech with Heart's all about, right? Driving people to use technology in a way that it deepens our relationship. Any thoughts on that? Technology, how it can be used to enhance and deepen our relationships?
What was that? Sorry.
The technology aspect of how we should be using it to constantly drive a deeper relationship with one another.
Yeah, for sure. Like anytime you can show your face or people can kind of see your mannerisms or just how you act, just kind of adds another layer onto your messaging, and building those know, like, and trust factors, so people feel like they know you or they've met you, even if they actually haven't yet. That can really be useful. And so video can be great, even if it's like on social media. It doesn't even have to be anything like overly planned. You can just record a selfie video on LinkedIn for 15 seconds. Or one thing I've been doing is making like TikTok videos and sharing those to LinkedIn. And that's obviously not everyone's cup of tea, but it's like, they're kind of funny. They're relatable to my niche in a way that is sometimes more interesting than me just talking, but they can still see me, they can see my mannerisms, they can get a very clear picture of what I stand for and what I believe in, which helps them like align themselves with me even more, like, oh yeah, she gets it, she gets me, and here she is, a real human person, like not perfect, obviously no one's perfect, but like still on the same plane as me. I feel like I can relate to her, kind of deal.
I love that. I'm glad to hear that you're doing that, because I'm always going to push you. Anybody that's listening, you need to be doing more video. It's an evergreen, and it's a wonderful way to allow people to relate to you and get to know you without you having to take extra time out of your day to get to know them. And then when you do get to have a one-on-one with them, they already feel like they know you. So it's a win. It's a big win for everybody involved. So let's go back just a little bit. You talked about what, the kind of copy that grinds people. Like, I know there's certain types of copy that grinds on me. So obviously I'm not going to want to do that. But couldn't that actually be used as a unique differentiator for you writing your own copy? Like you can have like a title headline, "No BS here," or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you want to make sure is that your real voice comes through. So like if you're, the kind of person who curses like a sailor, go ahead and put that in your copy. That's going to come through and it's going to sound authentic. But if you're not the kind of person who does that and you're just trying to sound like, make yourself sound like a badass to get more clicks or whatever, people are going to be able to pick up on that. Like I said, humans have a really good BS detector. So if it doesn't feel right to you, it's not going to feel right to them. People are going to be able to pick up on that, even if it's through the screen or through video. It's not going to flow naturally out of you. So just let flow out of you what flows naturally. And if you are the kind of like, if you do curse a lot, and you need to do something like edit it out to be able to run ads or something, let's say, go ahead and write your most authentic version of what you're writing. And then you can go back and like replace the words that you need to replace. That way your attitude and your authenticity is still there. You're not trying to edit yourself, but you are just, editing the couple of words. People are going to feel like they're going to feel the authenticity anyway.
That's cool. So let's talk a little bit about social media posts when you're trying to drive traffic to the web pages that you've created. So you feel like your web pages are vetted, you've got the copy and it seems to be converting. So now you want to drive more traffic to it. How can we stand out a little bit in the sea of digital noise? And what are your thoughts on sharing story, like implementing story into some of your social media posts?
Yeah, well, humans always like to relate to other humans. So like sharing stories is great. But another thing too, to keep in mind about social media and gaining traction on social media is that if you want engagement, you also have to give engagement. So if you want other humans to engage in your content, you have to first engage with other humans first. So you can just share content all day, every day. But if no one's seeing it now, it's going to take a lot of work to get people to see it versus if you are taking, say, like half an hour to go through and comment on other people's stuff, the algorithms will favor your account and they'll appreciate your interaction with them and interact with you just because it's a natural, not because it's like a tit for tat thing. It's just like a natural human behavior to engage with the people who are friendly with you and who talk with you and who like your content. So it's important to, one, make sure you have that foundation of engaging with other people first, especially if you don't have anything going for you right now on social media. That's one of the quickest ways to gain traction on your own content. But then, sharing stories is great. And they don't always have to be like sales stories or business only stories. Like, share yourself as a human. But yeah, we love to hear other people's stories. Like, that's one of the things we've been missing a lot actually in the last years, because we like to hang out, we like to hear stories from other people, how their life is going. And so it's really nice to see that from other people and to talk, even if we don't know them in person, to talk with them about it.
Yeah, I like what you said too. I love it because engagement is where it's at, because social media is meant to be social, meaning that it's a conversation. It's not
Right.
all one-sided. And so keep that in mind. And just another thing too is that if you happen to be sharing a story that involves somebody else, it's okay to tag them if you know them well. But if you don't know them well, you can always ask if it's okay to tag them, because sometimes they get really put out if you did not check in with them, because they may think that you're using them, and nobody wants to feel used. So that's just a little bit of social media etiquette. But I love everything that we've talked about today, Chelsea. Writing copy, and even knowing if you were going to go into somebody else's social post and you're going to write something about like an engagement back about what the original post was about, it's also so important for us to know what to say there. So that's copy as well. We want to make sure that we're using words that people can relate to. But every time we engage on somebody else's post, we have to always be thinking that we're representing our business. Most of us are using social media to do business. So you want to use certain words there that are going to cause somebody to have a little question mark and say, "Ooh, that's cool," kind of sort of like a hook. But you don't want to always be hooky, marketing hooky. You want to use certain words, right, that are going to make them go, and then they're going to go check you out on your personal profile. And that's why it's good for you to be posting regularly, because when people go back to your profile, right, that's what they're going to see, your posts, and they're going to go, "Ooh, I want to learn more about this." Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't focus on like trying to get people to click back on your stuff when you're engaging on other people's stuff. Like, especially LinkedIn is it is my favorite social media platform. But one thing that's really cool with LinkedIn is, you have your name, like I have Chelsea Baldwin, and then under it, you can put your job title. Most people put their job title, but you can put something a little out of the ordinary there that will pique the interest of the right people. So that way, when you're engaging on people's posts, it doesn't come across as inauthentic or like just trying to get traffic. You can legitimately just talk to them as if you were talking in person, without like trying to be salesy at a networking event, trying to shove your business cards into everybody's hand, which is always awkward. So, not everyone's going to click back to your profile, but if you come up with something that's like interesting there, you can do that to get the people back. Another thing that I found is like, sometimes you can use your profile picture to do that. Like I have mine like that on Clubhouse. I have actually my podcast thumbnail on it, and it's not for everyone. My podcast is not for everybody, but for the people whose interest it piques, they see that it's not just a normal face picture like most people have on Clubhouse, and they click to my profile and they're like, oh, this is actually pretty cool, and they can get in touch with me that way. So yeah, that's just my thoughts.
Those are great thoughts. I hope I didn't come across wrong. I just know that when you represent yourself, you always want to represent yourself professionally, so that you're engaging, you're having conversation, but ultimately, if you're always thinking in the back of your mind that everywhere I go, I'm always marketing, not salesy, but you're always thinking strategically to be using phrases perhaps that may pique curiosity if it feels right, if it's a good time to do that. Like there are times where you'll see on certain Facebook groups, they'll say, okay, share with us what you do, be unique, come up with copy that's going to set you apart, but not sound salesy. When you create your profiles, using words on your profile that's going to pique curiosity or just try to kind of paint a picture a little bit of what you can do for somebody. Those are great things to do rather than just your title. It's good. This is good conversation. And this is, I hope you're finding value for those of you who are listening or watching, that, it's a different techniques to stand out. So Chelsea, you work with people, right, to help them with their copy. How can they go and reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Chelsea Baldwin on LinkedIn. My website is Get Copy Power. There's a lot of getcopypower.com. There's a lot of resources there if you kind of want to check that out. There's also a little freebie tab, or I think it says free copy course on the tab. So if you want to, like the examples that I gave today, there's like tutorial, you get like tutorial lessons on that, and then also like another lesson on a tactic that we didn't talk about, and there's like examples that you can see in front of you of how it's done, so it gives you like a more visual way to do that, so you can check that out. And then of course, if you have questions or want to talk, like just respond to one of those emails.
Well, awesome. And do you have, I think you said you had something free. Was that where they go to find some free resources? Is that what you're talking about, the free?
Yeah, getcopypower.com. There's a free copy course tab that you can get. And then of course there's a blog with some blog posts and videos also about copywriting that are free.
Well, this has been great. I'm excited that we have this conversation. And do you have any last words or a favorite quote that you would like to have us remember as we head out into the world of copywriting, creative copy, and memorable copy?
Yeah, I can't really think of a quote. I guess Nike is a good quote, like just do it, like just do it, like don't hold yourself back. You can always like people get very perfectionisty over copy or over marketing or over a website or really anything, and it's really just like procrastination in a fancy disguise. So just do it, just do it, just do it, just put it out there, just go for it. And then like if you need to fix something later, you can fix something later. Fixing things can be annoying sometimes, but it's like if you're not putting it out there, you're really holding yourself back from success and from the lessons that you need to learn to get further faster. So just do it, just do it, just put yourself out there, just go for it.
Well, fantastic. I just want to also let anybody that's listening know a little bit about why Tech with Heart is here. So techwithheartnetwork.com is where you can go and you can join our heart-centered, forward-thinking community. And if you are an expert like Chelsea, where you can come and bring value back to our entrepreneurs to help them either embrace technology or learn some business systems or strategies that are going to move that needle for them so they can grow their business, then I want to know who you are. I want to hear from you. Maybe you're a great fit and we can interview you on our show. And if you want to just come in and join our community and get featured as a business expert or get featured as an influencer so that we can do some workshops together, we would love for you to check us out, techwithheartnetwork.com. We are a nonprofit organization and we're here to empower and to encourage and to embrace entrepreneurs and help them on their journey. We grow alongside one another. We are a safe place to ask good questions and get advice and guidance from experts. So again, techwithheartnetwork.com. Thank you, Chelsea, for today. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and here's to your success.